Here we come, blue and white, and we're looking good. You'll be in for a fight, and we fight pretty good. Getting goals is our job, and we get goals good. Looking good, we are Carlisle United.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Brunton Bugle, the number one place to get your Carlisle United fix in the podcast world. I'm Lee Rudy.
And I'm Dan McLennan.
Make no mistake about Keith, we're in a relegation battle now. Another miserable defeat and performance of Blue sees them in danger of slipping into the bottom two. We review the Port Vale loss and look ahead to what is a huge game against fellow strugglers Colchester United this weekend. I thought I'd turn the air a bit blue early on.
I did think you were going to peak a bit early and have a bit left, but you just managed to bring it back nicely at the end.
That's how I feel after that game midweek. It was genuinely one of the most depressing.
Cack's the word for it.
I think you're being very polite there. I mean, I'm going to have to go and bleep out that swear word that I've just put in, but just there was very, very little positive to take out that game, wasn't there, Dan? I think it's fair to say
there was
not good.
Very little. A couple of bits that we'll cover in the match review,
yes, but there you go. Yeah. Before we obviously move on to the match review bit, well, just a couple of news bits. First up, do you want to do some quick loan updates, Dan? I think they all featured this weekend, didn't they? I think in some way or another.
Yeah, the main one is probably Taylor Charters.
Yeah.
You haven't actually put this in the script.
No, I haven't actually.
There's a big gap, so I'm making this up off. Taylor Charters has been on the bench for Gateshead, but he's been getting on, and he actually scored midweek, late goal. It was actually credited to Kedwin Scott on the score apps, but this was Taylor Charters himself tweeted about it and said it was great to score. Now the interesting thing is with Charters, his loan is actually up this week officially.
And what area of the pitch are we looking a bit desperate at the moment? I think it's fair to say.
Midfield, maybe left side where he can play. You know,
could be. That's a potential option, isn't it?
There's plenty worse options than recalling him because he's ready to go. He's been playing football.
Well, the thing is now, though, if he extends it another month as well, we can recall at any time at that point, then, can't we? So that's
I think that's the rule. Yeah.
I think did I see Lewis Bell started the game for Warrington, didn't he? I think he was subbed at half time.
Yeah, he came off at half time, and I don't think he featured in their game midweek. So I do wonder if he maybe got a very slight knock to come off at half time.
Possibly, yeah. Josh Dixon on as a sub again. Workington winning again. They're absolutely flying.
Workington are flying. The winning. He can't just expect to walk in.
No.
So,
but he's coming on. He's playing a part in games, doesn't he?
If he's getting 20, 30 minutes when they're 2-0 up, it's just good for him to get some football again, isn't it?
It's better than him being sat in the stands. And you know what?
Yeah,
extend it another month. He's got another month under his belt as well. That's the ideal thing.
I was reading he's 21. Is he just turned 21 this week?
Yeah, literally this week,
So, he needs games because
absolutely.
I don't want to sound harsh. We can't hang around forever.
No, we certainly can't.
But,
Abrahams, I think, was a late sub for Grimsby in their game.
It just seems to.
And Mampala, I think he was subbed off, for Weymouth as well. So, all getting games. So, but let's move on to the important bit of news here, Dan.
We're launching an appeal.
We are launching an appeal, everyone. After the success of our appeal to find information on the whereabouts of a Mr. Lucas Jensen in recent weeks, today we're launching a new appeal to help search for a man who's been missing in action since mid-October.
That man,
indeed,
is the one and only David Holdsworth.
Yes.
Wherefore art thou, David?
Well, the 53-year-old Londoner's gone missing. He was spotted skulking off just before the final whistle on Tuesday night. We've not heard a peep from him in the media. You might recognise him under the names of Teflon Dave and the Milk Tray Man. Where are you, David? We all want to hear from you. We're all desperately worried. It's time to come forward. Are you still worried about the salt and pepper on your chips over relegation, which you've never done in your career, but you have actually twice when you were playing for Watford? Please speak to us, David, if you get the chance. We'd all love to hear your views and what's going on right now? Because it's your bloody fault,
February
really,
the 10th. It's February the 10th. It's 10 days since the window shut. Where are you?
I'll turn that music off now. It's ridiculous. Let's get on to the match review. I think that comes on quite nicely, doesn't it?
Aye, sod him.
United 1, Port Vale 3. Time to face facts. We are, I said it in the intro, we're in real danger of returning to the National League after 17 years since our last spell in non-league. And right now it's happening barely without a fight. That's what's making it worse. And as people will touch on in a minute, if we go down, we're not coming back at the first attempt. Not a chance in hell. We were totally outclassed in midweek, weren't we, Dan? I think it's fair to say by I think what you'd say was a very sort of wily and
workmanlike,
wily, clever Port Vale side.
Exactly everything you'd like us to be, basically.
Yeah,
they're not as good as Forest Green. Forest Green are the standout team.
Yeah.
But they did remind me a bit of Sutton. They're organised. They know the roles. They do the job.
They've got sprinklings of quality in there, though. You've got someone in Hussey who's got years of experience. He was taking the piss with his corner taking, the amount of time he was taking to take them. And that was weak refereeing for me. A referee there should have, the first time after it, said, just get on with it. You don't need to pull your socks up and have the ball between your legs for 5 minutes or whatever it was. The likes of Worrell, Wilson and Hussey, they strolled through the game, didn't they? And we struggled to do the basics at time, which makes it even worse. It was
you wouldn't mind the trio of similar in our team, would you?
No, you certainly wouldn't. And we look like a side that's devoid of both quality and confidence. As soon as goals went in, you see shoulders drop, don't you? You see heads drop, and I think it's going to be a really long 3 months at the moment. I'm genuinely very worried that we're going to get to a point where
the plus for me is we've got to play nearly all the teams around us. Most of them away, in fairness.
And the problem is we've got the good teams coming to Brunton Park, and we're not great as it is. And they're going to come all full of confidence, pushing for a promotion place. I'm a little bit terrified of Harry McCurdy coming up our inside defence next weekend, because he'll tear us apart. If he's on his game, he will have a field day, and you know how much he's going to love it as well, which makes it even worse. There's
one answer to him. You just bloody take the yellow card after 2 minutes.
Well, you say that. Look at this game here. No yellow cards for either side. That's frustrating. If you're going down with a wimp like that, I want to see some players putting some bloody tackles in. Get a booking if you have to. Rile the team up. There was nothing. It was just weak and pathetic, quite frankly, at times. We'll talk about the goals, Dan. It couldn't have got off to a worse start, could we, really? It's probably fair to say.
There was still people, where I sit, there was still people coming up and just taking a seat as they scored. That's how early it was.
A mutual friend of ours, Nick Brown, I saw him at half-time, and he was saying, I literally had just come through the turnstile and saw Worrell hit the ball into the back of the net and thought, might as well turn around and go back now. This isn't going to be a good evening. It's basically one of the ones, wasn't it? Joe Riley, he gave away the ball quite cheaply, didn't he, really? It wasn't a good pass. Wheeler wasn't really paying much attention either. But it's on Riley, really, the bad pass. And then, to be fair, it travels over to Worrell on the right, and Armour's just so slow to get out to him and block. And
to be fair to Armour, I don't think he's expecting to be in that situation.
Possibly
he's not, is he?
Possibly not. We'll talk about Armour's.
If you think he's looking at the ball from Whelan to Riley, and he's thinking, well, it's not on my side. Just keep an eye on.
Well, we'll talk about Armour's overall performance in a bit, because it wasn't great. I think it's fair to say. It did actually take a deflection. I was right behind the line of the ball when he hit it, and it does clip off someone and go into the far corner.
Yeah.
But even so, it was one of those ones where he was hitting it back across where it came, and he was always likely probably to end up in the back of the net, and really frustrating. After 48 seconds, something like that, I think it was.
Yeah.
Not good at all. Quite incredibly, our only shot on target of the game was scored. And tell you what, it was a difficult shot to score from as well, I think it's fair to say.
It was a nice finish, wasn't it?
It was, good counter-attack. So Armour find Patrick. He, in turn, played the ball wide left on Matoy. He did well to hold off his man, and then I think he got a little bit lucky with the cutback. I think it's fair to say it wasn't really played to anyone. He didn't have much up there with him, in fairness, but it was a little bit of an aimless ball. And he was lucky that Windsor was alert enough, because it was behind Shea Silver, to come in. And tell you what, like you said, a really calm finish, because a lot of players would just lever that ball, wouldn't they, and just put it over the bar. But he hit it nice and hard.
He sort of put it with placed it with pace, didn't he? You know,
really good finish for a crowd of players. And I was going to say, nice to see the shithouse celebrations were in front of the away fans, but I thought, part of me was thinking, oh, do you really want to be doing that this early in this game?
We're not that good, are we? We're not that good.
If you're making it 3-1 or something, fair enough, but no, shouldn't be doing that then. I mean, all really we had to do at that point then was hold on till half time, and couldn't even manage that, could we? It was one of those ones that attack down the Port Vale left. I mean, Riley wasn't really at fault in this one. Devine really doesn't track his runner very well at all. He gets into the box, plays it back to Wilson. It's a good strike, to be fair, but I mean, should Howard be holding on to that maybe? It's one of those ones I'm looking at and think it's so well hit.
He was maybe put off as well by the Port Vale man who was just stood there doing nothing as well.
That's the thing, he was doing nothing, so he wasn't interfering with play. If you look back at it, he's not blocking his view, he's not interfering with play.
Yeah,
so there's no offside there. He was just there. And yeah, problem is Simeo and Feeney both slid in to block the shot, and were both on the floor, and Wilson, really quick and alert to be fair, and just hammered the ball into the net from the loose ball.
Yeah.
I mean, to get that just before half time just killed any confidence in the team, didn't it? And the second half was...
Yeah.
I mean, they could have had 3 or 4, really, if we're being honest. I mean, Howard made 2 or 3 really good saves, and then... I mean, we're going to have to... I've said probably less said about this goal, the better, but we've got to talk about David Amu's goal. I mean, I really feel for Joe Riley on this one, because, no one intentionally goes out to go and cock up like that, do they? And he's just trying to keep the ball moving. Instead of, give away position, he's trying to play it back to defender. Instead, he actually plays it straight to Amu. He's in on goal and puts it through Howard's legs to make it 3. And at that point, game over, really, wasn't it? I mean, to be honest, loads around us left at that point. I probably would have done myself, but I was driving back anyway, so it didn't really make much difference. I mean, just overall, Dan, your thoughts on this game? I mean, when you saw the lineup, what was your first thoughts when you saw it before this game?
My first thoughts were, ooh, that's interesting. And I thought, it's one of Riley, Devine or Whelan at right back, and the other 2 of those 3 in the middle with a very attacking foursome.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, then I got a text off someone when I was walking down saying, from the warm-ups, it looks like Riley's going to be at right back. He must have been doing drills or something. And then I thought, Whelan and Devine. See, the problem for Devine, his last game was New Year's Day against Scunthorpe, where he played 11 minutes.
Yeah.
Prior to that was Stevenage. So he hasn't had much football. It's not his fault. We don't have reserve games. We don't have bounce games much, and it's very, very hard. Speak to any pro and they'll tell you to come in after 5.5 weeks of no football and be expected to run a midfield is bloody hard, And I mean, I don't think he was terrible, but he wasn't brilliant.
He looked off the pace.
Yeah, he looked off the pace, but he's going to be because he's not played. And the problem with Whelan in midfield is he's very defensive minded when he plays it.
He slows the play down so much.
It's okay in certain situations, but I would think home games where you're looking to try and pick points up, maybe not.
It's a difficult one because, I mean, to be fair, I'll put my hands up here. I said I thought we needed to have Riley playing at right back last week.
Yeah, me too, because we've seen him play there and he can get up and down the line, and he's got an engine on him. But
that was on the basis that Jamie Devitt would start alongside Wheeler in midfield, so you'd have someone who break up play a little bit and someone to drive us forward a bit more.
Yeah,
as it was, you had Devine, and then Devine's not that kind of player, really. And
it was interesting to note when Devitt came on, he was instantly screaming for the ball.
Yes,
give me the ball, 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 non-stop.
He takes one touch, gets it out of his feet, plays the pass. He's got his head up looking for a pass, and he can get the ball and he can turn on it quickly to create space.
Yeah, and he's looking and he's hitting cross-field balls, changing the direction of play. Or he's 1-2, and it did pick up a little bit when Devitt came on.
But then we're still with Whelan. The problem is, I counted quite a few times. He was taking 4 or 5 touches on the ball in midfield. I'm thinking, you've got to have 1 or 2 and then get the ball away. get the ball moving.
Yeah.
It slowed it down so much, and you could hear the crowd really getting agitated. The amount I don't mind us playing it back into defence a little bit as well, and keeping the ball moving and recycling it. But if you're doing it every single time, it starts to become a real problem, especially then you launch it forward and it just comes straight back anyway. It wasn't. I mean, as you touched on there, Dan, actually as well, a very attack-minded in terms of wingers and forwards and.
We didn't know who was going to start wide. We knew Patrick would, but we were like, and then I thought, I'm sure I read that Windsor can, like most young kids can these days, they can play all across the front line.
We did wonder if maybe Omatoy would be used there, but he wasn't. He was down the middle. I mean, two very attack-minded wingers, and they left the fullbacks quite exposed. We're going to talk about how poor the two fullbacks were in terms of their performances, but at the same time, you've got to allow for the fact that actually they didn't get much protection at all from their wingers. And I'm speaking of from the fact that Windsor was probably man of the match for us, to be fair. But I mean, let's talk about Joe Riley then. I mean, I really do feel for that because he's been waiting for the chance to actually get a start for so long. Comes in a right back, and then when you make a mistake like that early on, that's going to hit you, especially a lad like him who, plays with his heart on his sleeve and really works so hard for the team. I mean, the third goal as well. You could see he looked devastated because he knew he'd basically cost us a chance of a point there, and it was actually. And someone pointed out that it was quite disappointing. It took a while for the players to click onto this, and this is where you need a strong captain and things like that. So you need to be getting back there and grabbing and saying, "Come on, let's get on with it. We've still got a chance to maybe get back into this. It's not impossible." But it took a while for players to actually come back, and I think it was Jamie Devitt actually might have been the first one to go back to him. That's something you want to see. And I know Whelan was captain for this game, but I'd be quite tempted on Saturday if Devitt starts to make him captain because he's been captain before when he was here first time. I know he's only just come back, but I just feel like he's the kind of player who could really lift the players in that way. But yeah, would you agree maybe on Saturday stick Whelan back to right back and put Riley into midfield maybe?
There's that option, or one which is it is in left field. You could also look at Armour playing at right back.
Yeah, we said that before.
And bring in Roberts at left back.
Yeah, well, I mean, let's step a little bit ahead. I had new lads next, but actually, let's go talk about Armour. For me, at the moment, he's going a bit backwards with his performances. I know Worrell is a very, very good player. We know that at this level. He's got a brilliant delivery on him, and he can be a tricky player. But at times it was like they were playing different sports. It was a little bit, I don't know. There was one time in particular where he was trying to almost shepherd the ball out, and he had a control of it, and still somehow managed to let Worrell get around him. And actually, Worrell was sometimes beating him to aerial balls, and Worrell's not a big lad. It's one of the, he looks like a player again. He's not playing with much confidence at the moment. I do wonder, in comparison of the way that Mellor stepped up his game when Senior came in. Not really seen that from Armour yet over the first two games. So I do wonder if maybe you give Roberts a run. And maybe you're right. Maybe you switch Armour to right back just to put someone a bit more solid there rather than, who is actually a full-back full-time. That is a possible option. I don't know whether Millen's aware of that. I mean, Skelton will be, obviously, because he was coach at that time. So I wonder if it's one of those things that gets suggested. But again, it promise if he does that, it looks like we're just throwing players in here, there, and everywhere, aren't we? And just trying to find a solution. And there's only so long you can do that for before it starts to look a bit like you don't actually know what you're doing.
Who'd be a manager, eh?
Yeah, definitely. Let's talk about the new lads. I think both agree. Very decent debut from Windsor. I like how he looks after the ball. He looks in control of it when he gets it. He looks like he technically is a very good footballer. He
looked a level above Brad Young, which is the obvious comparison point, isn't it?
I mean, I'd argue he looks a level above Omatoy. Quite a few levels above, actually, from what I've seen so far. I mean,
sadly, my cats do, never mind.
Yeah, we'll talk about him again in a minute. But yeah, he looks useful, and you know what? I think he'll be a decent player for us. We originally thought he was going to be a squad player, but actually, to be honest, he looks like a lad who's probably going to end up starting most of the remaining games if he plays like that. Might have no choice. Toby Silva. I don't want to judge a player on just one game.
No,
give him time to settle.
Very average. You could argue he didn't really play to any of his supposed strengths.
But I mean, to be honest, what I'd say is he didn't look great sometimes when he had got the ball and stuff like that. But actually, what service did he get? Pretty much none. He did not really get any decent balls into him. He didn't have players around him to support him either. You give him a little bit of time to settle. first, is what I'd say. And I know people might turn and say, well, you didn't really give Montoya time to sell. We said he played well after the first game, and it was only 3 or 4 games in. We were like, okay, maybe he's not quite the player.
Games now.
Yeah, he's not had a shot on target yet.
Yeah.
So I think give him a little bit more time. I mean, Dennis.
Yeah, definitely.
Dennis, you couldn't really judge. I think he touched it twice. Maybe.
Dennis is one who he hasn't played that much football recently, which is what Keith Millen sort of mentioned in his pre-match.
But we're at the point now where we might just have to start him because we just need someone in there.
Well, it was interesting that he mentioned that he's the sort of player who knows how to manage his game because of his experience. So, it wouldn't be a surprise if Dennis started and then you maybe saw Alexander or someone come on 65, 70 minutes.
Yep. And obviously in terms of a new boys, we've still not seen Roberts yet, but I mean, he's not really new, but Devitt, just exactly what we expect, isn't it? Just frustrating that he was constantly having to come so deep to get the ball. That was the thing that really annoyed you, and that's where you maybe look at formations, which we'll talk about in the preview section. Montoya. I know he got an assist. I think he was a little bit lucky with that, but I mean, it just didn't do anything for me. And I don't get why he's persisting with him. I really don't understand it. I think you'd have been better sticking Alessandro up there with Silva. Somewhere to link with.
Alessandra's got the guile and the experience, hasn't he?
I just don't see what Montoya really brings. I mean, he doesn't look entirely in control of the ball when it comes to him and stuff like that. Comparison, Windsor looks totally in control of it. He looks like when the ball comes to it, it's going to stick. I don't see that.
Based on what we've seen so far, if you were offered a choice of Windsor, Montoya or Brad Young, Windsor wins off the back of one game for me.
Windsor wins off the back of one game. Young probably second and distance third on Montoya from what I've seen so far, I'm afraid. That's just the way I see it. Positives, not really any, but I mean, Devitt, as we said, looked lively.
There wasn't much traffic on Warwick Road after the game, so got off a mate and got away well.
Got away very quickly.
That was a positive.
Simiu, slightly better, but even then...
I thought Feeney made a couple of good blocks during the game.
Yeah, I mean, the centre-backs didn't do too bad, but I mean, just all around, we just look weak and we just don't look a good team. Yeah. Let's move on to one more talking point before we go to the preview section, Dan, and that's the manager himself, Keith Millen. Surely his job's under threat now. On the River results, 2 points out of 18.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I think what's buying him time is the window. He's only just got his players that's come in, and you've got to give him a couple of games. But on the flip side,
we haven't got time. That's the thing.
We haven't got much time, So it's a balancing act.
The teams below is suddenly getting a little bit of a surge. It's. I mean, Scunthorpe beat Walsall, who are a terrible side, but
Walsall.
I mean, they're dropping like so, but they're still ahead of us.
Yeah.
and they've now sacked their manager, and obviously someone will mention in the X-Files section in to take over as a caretaker for now. And Oldham, obviously, the Shesurrection continues, doesn't it? It's
we all know what his team talk will be. Win or don't come back.
Win or you'll be leaving this dressing room in bits. Literally in bits. But I mean, you look back at 3 wins in a row now, it just looks like a very fortunate set of fixtures that landed for us, including 2 teams that were very poor, and one of those was only at the start of their rebuild. And the third one was against a team that just had a rotten afternoon in terms of performance, who are not really performing as well as they should be this season. As soon as we played anyone half decent, Crawley and Hartlepool, we did not deserve really to win either of those games. Could have comfortably lost both of them. And then you'd be looking at 0 points out of a possible 18. If we lose on Saturday to Colchester, bear in mind Colchester team around us, potential relegation rival, and Oldham,
team who've picked up a little bit in recent weeks.
Oldham could get a result on Saturday, which would put them 2 points behind us if that happened. Do you sack Millen?
It's certainly a question that'll be discussed.
If the performance is not great for a start, I think it would have to. But personally, I'll be honest with you, I probably would have sacked him after Tuesday night.
I think we'll line up. Don't think we'll play 4-4-2 anyway.
No, I think we'll change him.
He's alluded to that in his post-match.
But the fact that he's taken him this long to realise that they're getting dominated in midfield in most games.
I think it'll be 4-3-3, but, you know.
My worry is as well, he'll try and play Obertoy down the middle again. That worries me as much as anything. For me, at the very least right now, the directors should be sounding out someone potentially to take over in the next week or two.
That would involve having a proactive director of football and boardroom.
This is the thing though. If Millen gets sacked, then Holdsworth should be sacked as well, because it's his appointment and it's been a complete failure. Yeah. That's the way it should be approached. They should say, and I've heard hints that they've basically told Holdsworth, if Millen doesn't work out, you're on your ass as well. Yeah. That's what you should do. It was
interesting to see the Walsall Trust basically giving a vote of no confidence in their director of football over the manager being sacked and the performances and the state of their club. Yeah. So we're not the only club who were all at sea.
Exactly. But yeah, I mean, personally, like I said, I think the directors should be really seriously looking at someone potentially to come in and do a firefighting job till the end of the season. There's an obvious name. I think everybody knows who that is. Someone who's a popular figure with most fans, I think it's fair to say, not all. Paul Simpson, obviously, is the name I'm thinking of. You know, potentially just
if he apologises on the front page of the Cumberland News, I may allow it.
You may allow it. But seriously though, I mean, if he gets to the point where you have to sack him, don't piss about him for 2 weeks trying to find a replacement. Have someone lined up, get them in, and tell them you just keep us up till the end of the season. And someone like Simpson would get a bit more support from the fans as well. I think that would be
as a short term option, and also keeping his hand in the game type thing. Yeah, there's plenty worse you could have, isn't there?
Even potentially bringing Danny Grange to do some coaching with him as well, and potentially you could look at him full time next season, maybe something like that. I mean, whether Granger would want to come back while Holdsworth's still there, I don't know, because by all accounts they didn't get on. But
if Millen's gone, you'd like to think Holdsworth would be gone.
Yeah, that's the way you look at it, isn't it? I mean, like some of the issues I've picked out here in terms of Millen. I mean, tactical decisions seem quite basic. He sticks rigidly to this 4-4-2, and you know his excuse for not playing Riley midfield is, I need some people who are going to be there, you know, win headers and win stuff like that. What's the point in winning the headers if you're just giving the ball away every single time? You've got two lumps in there who are not keeping all the ball. There's no point. You might as well have. Riley's a busy player. He can get in there. He can win his tackles. If he doesn't win his headers, so what? If we get the ball down to him, we're much more likely to keep the ball with Riley in midfield and push forward than we are with Whelan or even Devine in there. I mean, Mellish arguably can drive it forward, but he probably can't pass it as well as Riley, it's fair to say. Something like that. That's one I've never quite got, but obviously it looks like that's going to be resolved by going to three in midfield. I mean, breaking up that defence that was doing so well, that just looks a criminally poor decision now. It really just looks baffling why you would do that after just one game where that happened. Simeon should have had to fight for his place in the team. Simple as that for me. Signings generally so far, not really set the world on fire, many of them, have they? It's fair to say.
How many of them are his signings?
Well, that's the thing. We've heard of some reports that he potentially not. Well, in fact, we've even seen, hasn't he, from himself? He's admitting himself on something.
Well, Simu was.
Yeah. And Omotoy,
he'll have known about Omotoy, but that's.
We know Patrick wasn't. We know Senior wasn't.
It's not the greatest of lists, is it? Simu and Omotoy.
Yeah. So the big question is, how long do you persist with him? And like I said, to be honest, I probably would have just said after the game the other night, I would have said, thanks, but no thanks, and I would have moved on and got some.
I would give him a little longer.
Because my worry is we've got Colchester week, and if we lose to them, then obviously that's a team around us pulling away and potentially the others pulling up. And like I said, the next game is Swindon, and I don't fancy our chances against Swindon at the moment. We'd need to see a big turnaround in fortune, but who knows? Might happen. Right, that's enough for the preview section then. The review section even done. Let's move on then to the second half of the show where we're going to be previewing the Colchester game. Just a quick reminder for everyone, you can subscribe to the podcast and give us a review wherever you get your good podcasts. So that could be Google Podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Acast, anywhere like that. Just click subscribe. Every time a new episode comes out, it'll come automatically into your little inbox on your podcast app. So saves you the hassle of going to the website and trying to find it. As well, you can follow us on social media at Brunton Bugle on Twitter. We're on Facebook. Just search for the Brunton Bugle and click like. We're also on the Be Just and Fair Dot Facebook group. We're always posting on there, me, Dan and Mike. We're also obviously on the Cumbrians.net message boards. You can find us there. And if you want to do the old-fashioned way, just send an email to bruntonbugle@gmail.com. As ever, the second half of the show this season is being sponsored by the Carlisle United Sports Club London branch. The London branch is open to all Carlisle United fans. They've got members from Cornwall to Dundee and Houston to Singapore, and of course, every part of London and the South East. They regularly meet up on away trips, as well as arranging many social events and supporters games, and do fundraising for the club. They'll be providing us with information for the away games as part of the preview section of season 2. You can find out more about London Branch at their website, carlisle.londonbranch.org. And this week's pub, which Simon Clarkson, as ever, has kindly provided to me for the Colchester away game, is the Bricklayers Arms, which is on Bergholt Road in Mile End, Colchester, CO45AA. I'm not sure how close that actually is to the ground, because the ground is a long way from the town centre if you've ever been to Colchester. So, just search that up on Google Maps and work out how to get to the ground. Okay, so we've got no behind Emily Lyons again this week. I mean, the problem with this week was I've been away, basically, and I've only been back since pretty much yesterday afternoon, so not really had a chance to organise that with any Colchester fans. Hopefully I'll get it to do with Swindon fan, the one we did earlier this season, because I think it's fair to say I don't think either of us expected them to do as well as they had done, especially after we beat them as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Back to August, we beat them. That's ridiculous, isn't it? But there you go. So referee for this weekend's game against Colchester is Lee Swaby? Don't know how you pronounce that. It's his 7th season as an seventh season as EFL referee, taking charge of 20 games this season, handing out 48 yellows and 2 red cards. Last took charge of a United game for the 0-0 draw at Newport County towards the end of last season, where Mellish and Alessandro were booked in that game. We played them 54 times in our history. I think that's more than we've played Port Vale, which is crazy when you think about it. You'd think we'd have played Port Vale a lot more. 19 wins to us, 12 draws, and 23 wins to Colchester. So they're a little bit ahead in terms of the head-to-heads. Last season, they finished 20th in League 2. Right now, they're 20th in League 2 on 30 points from 29 games. That puts them 2 positions and 3 points ahead of United, having played the same number of games. Their manager is a familiar face to their fans because it's his 3rd temporary spell as boss at the community stadium. It's Wayne Brown, appointed in January 2022 to replace Hayden Mullins, who was sacked from his... I don't know what the expectation is at Colchester at the moment, because I know they signed a lot of experienced players from Ipswich and others last summer, but you look at their squad, they shouldn't really be challenging much higher than low and mid-table, should they? You'd think. It's a tough one.
There was whispers on Twitter that they'd lost the dressing room.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And given that they lost 7 out of 8 in all competitions with only 1 draw, something wasn't right. Walsall hammered them 3-0.
Yeah, and the thing is as well, last season their good run of form under him was basically when Paul Tisdale was there, wasn't it, helping out? So you do wonder if that was probably part of the reason why.
Yeah.
They've gone back to Brown. He played most of his career at Ipswich, had spells at Colchester and a few other clubs. He's had quite a few coaching roles there, hasn't he? I think down the years, under 23s, under 18s coach. Yeah, but he's actually been manager of non-league side at Malden and Tiptree. I think was he their manager when they went on that FA Cup run to the first round?
I was just going to ask that question.
I have a feeling he was. I'm sure I did this last season. I said about that. So, he's had a bit of success on non-league level, and he's basically given the interim role. I don't think there's been any sort of you're only in charge for the next 5 games. Something that's basically just told you in charge for the foreseeable future. I think is what they've said to him. Not a great result midweek for them, though. They suffered a 2-1 defeat to high-flying Mansfield Town. 2 goals in the 90th minute in this game. Alan Judge scored the Hughes goal in this game. Another spectacular goal from him. He scored a great goal for them the other day in another game. But yeah, not a great result, I think it's fair to say. Looking at their squad, Dan.
They've used an incredible amount of players this season. I've just counted up there. They've named 41 different players on a team sheet this season.
Blimey. They do have a lot of young players. They have a lot of young players in their squad there, I think. They always have done. But they also have a lot of players from Ipswich, either on loan or having previously played them. I think they might even be able to name a full 11 of ex-Ipswich or on loan Ipswich players right now. It's ridiculous, isn't it? I mean, Freddie says...
There is...
Go on, sorry.
You look, there's some good names there. Sears, Akinde, Cole Scouse. These are players. Tommy Smith. These are Alan Judge. These are players who know what they're doing.
Yeah. Or Luke Chambers, Tommy's. I mean, there's bags of experience.
Yeah,
there, it does. I suppose it goes to show it's not always about experience, is it? You do need a bit more in there sometimes. Obviously, the ex-Blues connection there, Shamal George. I don't know if he's back from suspension for this game. He was suspended, wasn't he, for an off-the-ball incident, red card that he picked up a couple of weeks ago, I seem to remember. I remember doing that in the X-Files at the very least, anyway. But yeah, it's difficult one to judge, isn't it? Because like you said, that someone like Johnny Kinde, he's a decent goal scorer, although a lot of his goals do come from penalties. But Seeds is the one who's getting a lot of goals from this season. He's one of the top scorers in League Two, I seem to remember. He's got double figures, I think he's into. So... I don't know. I think they probably should be doing a little bit better there, but I do think they rely a little bit too heavily on that ex-Ipswich contingent in their team, I think. That really is part of the problem. Definitely. Part of the problem. They've obviously recently signed Sam Hornby on loan from Bradford City as well to offer extra cover in the goalkeeper position. Yeah, well, let's talk about United then, Dan. The injury list just keeps growing, doesn't it? Week by week, day by day. Doesn't change, does it?
Mellor is long-term. Senior's probably the season. Guy and McDonald will be a while. Mellish and Dickinson, I don't think they're long-term, but
not this weekend.
I think the impression was highly unlikely for this weekend.
Yeah, I mean,
long journey, etc. It's
not ideal.
It's not worth it.
Not ideal. I mean,
that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 6 senior players.
Yeah, and they are senior players as well. Players who had a good chance of starting.
Apart from maybe senior.
Yeah, very good. But yeah, Callum Guy, one of those ones, isn't it? People have been wanting him out of the team for a while, but then you watch on Tuesday night and you think, Guy alongside Devitt in that midfield probably would have been quite handy, actually, wouldn't it? Really, I think Word would have worked a bit better. But there you go. And also you got the lads out on loan: Abrahams, Charters, Bell, Dixon, and Mampala. He's got to switch to 4-3-3 for this, surely.
I would think so.
What lineup would you go with if you went with
4-3-3? Who that midfield three would be? My lineup would be. I'm just finding it here because I put mine on the forum. I would go Whelan at right back. I said Armour, but you could easily put Roberts at left back.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yep.
Did I cut out there? No.
No.
Did I?
No.
No, I thought I did. Whelan at right back, Armour or Roberts at left back. You could make a case for both. Mm-hmm. We've only got Feeney and Simu in the middle. My midfield three would be Riley, Devitt, and Charters.
Okay. You would call Charters
I would call Charters and play him.
Is he definitely available? Because it might be just over. I'm not 100%.
No, I'm sure it's the day before or something. His thing runs out. Mm-hmm. I would then pick Gibson, Dennis, and Patrick.
Okay.
As the three.
Yeah. And then the subs, just pick who you want.
maybe a little bit harsh on Windsor. And given that Dennis maybe isn't 100%, you could maybe say Windsor for Dennis and bring Dennis on. But
possibly, that maybe not the worst idea in the world. I generally agree with you. I think I'd maybe put. I think I'd put Roberts in from the start for Armour. I think Armour just needs a little bit of a break, maybe. But yeah, I put Whelan right back in the midfield three. Riley, Devitt. Whether I'd put Charters straight in, I don't know. Maybe I'd stick with Devine, maybe just to offer a bit more. I just think free in there just makes a difference. Even if the personal's not that great, I think having free in there to actually win the ball.
It's all right saying stick with Devine, but you could argue that he didn't show enough to warrant staying in.
But then who else have we got? Who else have we got to play there? That's the problem, isn't it? If you look at the team,
Charters.
Charters is the only one, but again, yes, I think that's what I'd look at. And then front three wise, I think I definitely get Gibson in there. I'm dropping Gibson again was a very weird decision. I didn't really grasp that, to be honest with you. And then, like I said, I think I'd agree. I'd put Dennis in from the start, and I'd put between Patrick and Windsor for the other position on the wing, basically. So see how that goes. And like I said, the sub, it's about 5 or 6 strikers on there, something like that, isn't it? It's ridiculous how unbalanced we are now. And that's it.
Sorry, no, I said Windsor and Gibson on wide.
Oh, well, there you go.
And bring Patrick up. Yeah, sorry. And Patrick from the bench for whoever's playing worst out of them two with half an hour to go, because
fair enough.
He does have pace at a tied in defence. Sorry, yeah.
No, that's fair enough. Right, well, let's do predictions then. Dan, what's yours?
Oh, this is the hardest one of the season. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw.
Okay.
With a goal from Dennis, whether he starts or comes from the bench.
Okay. I'm going to do Mike's first, and then I'll do mine.
I'm going to go for a 1-0 win with Show Silver getting our goal.
That was nice and efficient. I was expecting a bit more there, but there you go. He's going for a 1-0.
No messing about there.
He's backing Toby there. Do I want to be the person who predicts a defeat for this game? No, I don't. I'm going to go 1-1. 1-1 draw, Devitt to score. There you go. I reckon Devitt will get a free kick and get our equaliser late on, maybe. There you go. Okay, Dan, in a sec, we'll be doing the X-Files roundup. But first up, Mike has sent us in a question again this week, because the X-Files is quite a long section this week, actually. Quite a lot happened,
quite a bit,
yeah. So we'll ask Mike's question now, and it gives us a chance to think about it, and then afterwards we'll try and cover answers. Here's Mike's question.
In 2008, we lost 5-0 against Colchester in what proved to be one of John Ward's final games managing the club. What was our back five? So 4 defenders, 1 goalkeeper, and I'll accept 3 as a pass mark.
Oh, that's very harsh, that, isn't it?
07, 08.
No, it'd be 08, 09.
Or is it 08 or 09?
I've got some ideas here. It might be a couple.
Yeah, I've got 1 or 2. Yeah, I've got 1 or 2 ideas.
Okay, well, first up then, let's do the X-Files section, Dan. And as we already said, quite a busy one this week, isn't it?
Yeah, let me just get the list up. Goals and cards everywhere. Often is when it's a double midweek and Saturday.
We'll cover Saturday first.
Yeah, Macaulay Gillespie scored the opening goal in Plymouth's 2-1 extra time defeat to European champions Chelsea in the FA Cup 4th round.
So unlucky, weren't they?
Plymouth played well in this, so I saw a little bit of it.
Yeah.
They deserved the draw, sort of thing.
Well, they missed a penalty late on as well, didn't they? Which was so frustrating. But
yeah, Callum Higginbottom scored a penalty for Kelty Heart, 4-0 win over Elgin in their march to the next division.
Yep.
Richie Bennett scored for Sutton in a 1-1 draw with Bristol Rovers. Gary Medine scored in Blackpool's 3-1 win over Bristol City, whose goal was scored by Naki Wells. So that's a double.
Another double.
Another double. Cole Stockton missed a penalty for Morecambe against Bolton, former academy keeper James Trafford saving it, but then made up for it by scoring a couple of minutes later. This was a game that was delayed due to apparent racial abuse or something, which never good to hear about.
Well, wasn't Bolton's equaliser in something like the 115th minute or something?
Yeah, it was somewhat ridiculous, yeah. Corey Evans scored that's a rare goal, isn't it? He's not in Sunderland's 2-1 defeat at Doncaster. Looks like Sunderland have hit the rocks again.
Yeah.
Paddy Madden, a regular, scored the winner. Narrow 1-0 win for Stockport over Dover, because Dover are really, they've
not won, have they? They've not won this season, have they? No. Oh,
so they've obviously struggled there. And then one we mentioned last time, Josh Galloway scored for FC United of Manchester in a 2-0 win over Witton Albion.
And I was there.
I was at the game.
Because obviously we didn't actually cover this earlier in the episode, but basically because the Rochdale game was called off, me and John McGee and John's mate Chris, I think it was. Sorry, I forgot your name there, Chris, for a second. We were drinking in the centre of Manchester, and we got the news of the pitch inspection at 1:15. So we're like, we'll hold off on going to Rochdale for now, and we'll just stay here.
Yeah.
Then it was delayed till 2 because our original backup plan was Altrincham against Woking, because there's some nice bars in Altrincham. So I'll go down there and watch that game, National League level. But then obviously when it dragged out to 2 o'clock, there was no way we were going to get to Altrincham in time for that game. So we all piled in a taxi, went all the way up to to FC United. It's like, is it Motspur, something like that? I can't remember exactly where it is in North Manchester, basically.
It's actually not too far from Rochdale on the map.
No, it's not. And there's a couple of Blues there. Martin Howarth, who's a listener as well. He was there. Yeah. He was, mate. Nice little setup they've got there, you know. It's a really nice little tidy ground for what they're getting. 1,700 fans there as well for Northern Premier League levels. Incredible, isn't it? Well, that's better than Salford are getting for some of their league games.
Salford had 1,100 against us.
Yeah, that tells all you need to know. But yeah, no, it did. Cracking little finish as well. Good little touch. And he was man of the match as well. And you know what? If he's been released by Leeds at the end of the season, I think we could do worse than at least giving him a trial in the summer if he was interested in having another look at him.
My thing against that is he went to Barrow on trial and they soon cast him off.
Possibly, but maybe getting a bit of game time under his belt might help. You never know with these things. Sometimes lifting him, but yeah, I get what you mean there anyway. But anyway, let's move on to the midweek ones.
Midweek, Gary Medine scored another. Blackpool's 1-1 draw with Coventry. Tom Lawrence, quite a regular feature, scored Derby in a brilliant 3-1 win over Hull.
Yeah.
It'd be some effort if they somehow stopped up.
Yeah, incredible. I suspect they'll probably still go down because of the financial
Yeah. John O'Sullivan scored in Accrington's 2-0 win. We haven't heard his name for a while.
No.
Josh Coyote scored the winner for Rotherham, 1-0 at Wimbledon.
That's his first league goal for them, I think, isn't it?
I think it is, yeah.
Well done to Josh.
Adam Campbell scored in Gateshead's 3-0 win, which we've already mentioned because Taylor Charters also scored. David Amu scored against us. Moving on, James Tavernier scored a penalty for Rangers in the 2-0 win over Hibs. Now, the other section is quite full this week, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's interesting. Russell Penn, who didn't really play many games for us, he only lasted half a season.
One game, I think he played, I remember,
Came within minutes. He's Kidderminster manager now, for those that don't know. And they were denied by an equaliser at the end of normal time, then a winner in injury time of extra time against West Ham. And West Ham were terrible. Kidderminster deserved a replay sort of thing from this game.
Definitely.
One we missed last week. Matt Jansen has left his role as manager at Stockport Town to rejoin Stockport County in a sort of recruitment player liaison role, which was similar to what he was doing, wasn't it? I do believe Stockport owners also have a bit of a say in Stockport Town, if I've read that right somewhere.
Possibly.
So, Jared Branthwaite came on as a first half sub the other night in Everton's 3-1 defeat to Newcastle. Yerry Mina got injured, so he came off the bench. Joe White, who was another ex-academy player plucked by Newcastle, he went on loan to Hartlepool. He made his first team debut in Hartlepool's defeat at Palace in the Cup. Gavin Riley has been named Championship Player of the Month for January in Scotland, which not a surprise because we've mentioned him a couple of times recently, haven't we?
He's playing really well. Yeah.
And he is one, as we mentioned. Walsall have a caretaker manager. No Smurf suits needed. It's Neil MacDonald. That's a joke that only some people will get.
Yes, indeed. So, it's interesting, isn't it? That potentially the three teams around us are going to be managed by two ex-Carlisle managers and a man who allegedly was very close to getting the Carlisle manager job earlier this season. So, be sod's law if they just happen to be the ones that send us down, wouldn't it? There you go. I think that's it. Covered pretty much done, isn't it? Yeah, I think we've run through everything this week. Big game this weekend, isn't it? Just massive. Huge. And, I know Keith Millen's been pains to say we're not in a relegation battle or not talk about 6 pointers. This is a 6-pointer for me. You've got to get something from this game. Very nice.
And it's probably good that we saw Colchester get beat off Mansfield after a good little run.
Yeah, that's a positive take, I suppose. But I mean, Mansfield are going to beat most teams in the run, and I think they've been excellent. And there you go. So thanks once again to our sponsors, the London branch. Next episode, will just sometime next week, we'll be covering the Swindon game. No doubt talking about our old mate Harry.
Yeah.
And what he's up to. Can't wait for that one.
Quiz question.
Go on. Oh, quiz question, yes.
Yeah, so he wants the keeper and the 4 defenders from the 5-0 defeat.
Keeper must be Ben Williams, mustn't it? Tim Krul came in after that, I'm sure he did.
Was that the season where we had 2 or 3 on loan?
We had Cruel and someone else came in as well.
Ben Alnwick, but I don't know when he came in.
Ben Anick, Ben Amos was a couple of years later, wasn't he?
Yeah.
So, it's either Ben Anick or Ben Williams, isn't it? I think.
Yeah.
Should we go with Ben Anick? Let's go with Ben Anick.
Yeah, I would say Livesey was still in the team at this time.
Yes. Was Josh Gowling in the team around then? Did he play with his handful of games?
Possibly. I was just before you said him, I was going to suggest David Raven because this is peak David Raven.
If he had an injury round about then though.
And I was trying to think as well. There must be a curveball in this for this question.
That's the only reason he'd pick it, isn't it?
Yeah. There's definitely a curveball. What years was Evan Horwood at the club? He would be
Evan Horwood would be then because Arenaldi had left by this point, hadn't he?
Yeah.
So Evan Horwood must be left back. So we go then. Yeah, should we go with Ben Anick, Raven, Livesey, Gowling, and Horwood?
Go on then. Yeah, that'll do.
So let's see what his answer is.
And it was Ben Anick in goal, David Raven right back, Danny Livesey and Josh Gowling at centre back, and Darren Campion at left back.
Oh wow! Caught out by Darren Campion.
I told you there was going to be some. There was that. That's the reason he's picked that.
Yeah. Let's not get into details about Darren Campion and his time at the club because it didn't end well by all accounts.
He didn't make many appearances for his. No, that much.
2 or 3, wasn't it? Really, so that's quite surprising that he was in there. But there you go, caught out by Darren bloody Campion of all people. There you go.
I do remember Darren Campion came on in the 3-0 at Millwall.
Yes, he did.
That was his first game for us, from memory.
You got to look back at that game. It's one of the most depressing.
I think he was brought on not long after the Livesey red card, which made the penalty in 2-0.
That's got to be one of the most depressing games in our recent
history.
That's really the turning point. You look where things went badly for us.
That is one of the few times I've came out of the game absolutely fuming.
Yeah,
I was fuming that day. I actually went to see a little breakthrough band at the Astoria that's been knocked down at Tottenham Court Road after that game.
Great venue.
And the band I went to see they were only little known then, the Cortinas.
Oh, there you go.
Who are massive now. It was quite an early because the famous GAY night was on a Saturday, so gigs had to be done at 9, so they were ready for 10 o'clock.
I remember those days. I've been down to watch a few gigs there as well. Yeah. Ash there a few times. Right, that'll do, Dan. Thanks once again to our sponsors, as I said. Thanks everyone for listening. Hopefully, good result the weekend, but we'll have to wait and see. Cheers and up the Blues.
Up the Blues.